good to be alive. Good to be alive. Yeah, it's good to be alive. And we all want to see you thrive. Hang on for the ride. This is Paul Vibes, bringing you a spiritual flow and information that can remedy the soul. A man for the people, message in a bottle, but he threw it in a podcast. Now it's full throttle. Life is never hollow, but if you ever feel twisted or need to be lifted, yo, my man is gifted.
Hello, everybody. Paul Vibes here. Welcome to another very special episode of the People's Podcast. I have a very special guest, a guest that just allowed me on their podcast, I think about a week or so ago, Marcus Allgood. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much. Pleasure being here. And it was awesome having you on my show. And I can't wait to get started on this one.
Hell yeah. Hey, I love your vibe. I mean, hearing about your story and seeing the way that you ran your podcast, like I learned a lot. I always learn like you. I'm always learning from different connections and friendships. And, you know, I go on people's shows, as you know, as a guest, and your show's a lot of fun. What I like about you is you get right to it. You know, there's no surface level conversation. So I'm going to get to it right now. I'm going to have your vibe, which is great vibes, as you know. I want to know how you're doing today. I always like to check in.
Man, I'm doing awesome. Awesome, man. Got up at 5 o'clock today. I took a couple, I usually try and get up at 5, but I took about a week and a half off of getting up at 5, and I was getting up at 6, like sleeping in. Mm-hmm. And today last night I made the intention. I was like, I'm getting up at 5 a.m. and woke up without an alarm at 4:57 without an alarm, jumped up. And I had a dentist appointment at 7, and my little girl, she's 6. She had a dentist appointment at 7 also to get her teeth cleaned. And so I wanted to get some stuff done before, get my morning routine in, did a little 15-minute meditation, did some journaling, and filled out my calendar for the day. And I wanted to get that done before even the kids got up or anything like that. And just really, really sets the tone for my day when I do that. And then when I don't do it, I feel so lost. Like I'm missing something all day. I'm like, what am I missing? What am I missing? And if I don't get up at 5, it's hard to get it all in. And like the times I was getting up at 6, it'd be 8 o'clock. I'm like, oh man, where did the morning go? But that one extra hour is crazy. Like I'm in such a better mood all day long. I feel like here it is 11 or 12 o'clock at my time in Central Time. It's 1 o'clock yours. And I already feel accomplished for the day. Like I could probably just end my day right now.
Wow.
You know?
So what time you normally go into bed when you do that? Because I'll be honest, I'm a night owl. So someone like me, it's like my juices are flowing, my thoughts are flowing at night. And like I have trouble. I'm not a morning person. And I think I need to switch my relationship with that because I could be up all night doing work. I mean, what is your advice to someone like me who's like loves the nighttime, hanging out with friends, doing work by the computer? How do I make that transition?
It's more about the why and why you'd want to change it. If it's working for you right now, then, you know, you don't really have to like change it too much. But when I did the big shift before my kids were born, I started working out at 5 a.m. and had to get up earlier and earlier. And before that, I was going to bed 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, nothing. And then I finally realized like, there's really nothing going on at that time. Nothing super important. That's not, you know, you're not going to miss out on anything. Mm-hmm. And so I started switching my time, getting up earlier. And the earlier you get up, it sucks. But once you force yourself up, you're going to want to go to bed earlier. But right now, I go to bed between 9:30 and 10. So I still get about 6-7 hours of sleep in there. 5, 6, 7 hours usually. And the main thing is your why. The reason why I started getting up early again is because of the fact that I need to get stuff done before my kids get up. And if I don't, my kids get up about 6:30 and 8. And so that extra hour and a half, I could get so much work done that I can't get done during the day without any interruption. Like the wife's not up, like nobody's up. And it's just that hour and a half is so perfect for your alone time and just not being interrupted. Because the more you think, like read, forget what book it was, but they were talking about every time you get interrupted, it's like almost losing 5 or 10 minutes of your day when you're trying to study something or you're trying to work or like editing your podcast. Like just because that one interruption came in and you turn and you look and you come back and you're like, dang, where was I on the podcast? what did I just do? What did I just, then you got to rewind it, then you got to start it again and go. And so I try and get all that done in the morning before they even wake up. So my advice is find the why on why you'd want to switch. If there's no real definite why, then there's real no need to switch that. Because as long as you're getting work and stuff done in the middle of the night, it's kind of the same thing until you have a distraction taken away from that. Like in the mornings, like once you have kids or you get a fiance or something like that, and like marriage life starts happening and you're getting that white picket fence going and
the American dream.
Yeah, exactly. That whole thing just suddenly shifts over and you can't stay up late. Kids aren't going to let you stay up late. And if you do, you're going to regret it.
Because then you got to be up early with them anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny to give the audience more understanding of your past. You the vibe I get, you almost have like a military vibe. Like you have very good discipline. You're into the fitness. You obviously started, you started a gym, which I want you to talk about too. But how did you get into all this self-development, fitness? Did it all kind of happen at once, or has it been a very gradual part of your life?
Well, back in college, when I was like 19, I started working out and kind of did like the bis, tris, Monday squat, like just kind of like bodybuilding kind of stuff, really, until probably like 20. Well, I always tried doing it even after college, but I kind of got into that party scene. I got into the party scene when I was about 24 to pretty much like 30, 31. So a long time where it wasn't like in college, we drink on the weekends. We weren't drinking every night and, smoke some weed back in the day. Quit smoking weed first, kept drinking, and then got into other things, bad things during the party scene. And I was living in Austin, Texas we were drinking heavy in Oklahoma City. And then I moved to Texas where my mom was. And that's where I started getting into like a heavy party scene where it was drinking every night, still working, getting fired from some jobs and still couldn't really I had a job most of the time, but I couldn't really hold one. Just kind of like a crappy bum lifestyle, just terrible lifestyle that I had. And I got a job at Sprint finally. And that was like the longest job I had. It was 5 years and doing sales. I moved up to assistant manager. And me and my buddy, we were still drinking like every night. We'd take like one day off usually, maybe a Sunday. And we weren't drinking just to socialize. We were drinking to like get drunk. We'd black out. Plenty of times. We didn't even know how we got home. You wake up in the morning like, oh my God, how do we even get here? And back then we thought it was funny. And then met my wife through Sprint. And of course, I'm giving you a condensed version of it. And, I still was smoking cigarettes back then. I didn't start smoking cigarettes until I was like 21, like in college. It was basically like after I quit smoking weed, I was like, oh, I need something to do. And so I picked up a cigarette because my buddies were smoking, which was pretty much the worst decision ever. But so I met my wife at Sprint and we used to go drinking a bunch. We didn't she would still party like we did. And after she went to get a job at the FAA. And so she ended up moving away from Austin for 3 months to Oklahoma City. And then she moved to Louisiana and Lafayette. And actually, it's about 6 months after she left the academy, I ended up moving over there with her. And we'd still kind of party a little bit over there. We mainly were drinking at the house. We'd drink like a big bottle of wine a night, smoke like a pack of cigarettes a day. And then I got engaged to her in 2010. It was either like February or March or April. I don't know when we got engaged, but we gave ourselves a year to get married. And I was like, look, and I was going back and forth between like trying to work out and do different things. And it just never stuck. I was just so bored with it and just eating like crap. Like I never ate vegetables, never ate anything healthy. I didn't even know what vegetable. I was like, I don't want to eat that stuff. That stuff's gross. And I went from basically I told her, I was like, we need to get healthy. We need to look good for our wedding. And I was 33. Yeah, I was 33. So it's 2010, May of 2010. We joined a boot camp and did that for a month, I think 6 weeks, so a month and a half. And she kind of gave us like a little bit, a little regimen. She was like, you need to start eating vegetables. I was like, I don't eat vegetables. And my wife would start cooking them, and I would eat like this much and like try and choke it down. Be like, she's like, Marcus, you're an adult now. Eat your vegetables. And so I started eating, finally got into that. And then after that 6 weeks was up, I ended up losing like 6-7 pounds in that 6 weeks. And because I was probably like 200 pounds, didn't have any muscles, not really. I mean, nothing you should be like, man, he looks good. He just looks big old beer gut. And we were still drinking at the time, like on the weekends, not every night. And then I've only thrown up in a workout twice. And once was like the first or second boot camp class we did. We were just drinking like normal, staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock. Tried getting up at 5 or at 4:30 to go to this boot camp. Just run out the door, get dressed, and run out the door.
Oh.
Hit this boot camp, like not even knowing you're hungover, and we had to like lunge the parking lot. And we did a couple of jumps, and ran behind the bush, and I just threw up. I was like, oh man, we gotta stop drinking. We gotta stop staying up so late. And so we would go home after that boot camp class and go right back to bed. Like we'd work out for an hour, go back to bed because we were so tired, and then wake back up for work, and then go to work and do our regular thing. And it was just crazy, like how it happened. Like what I was telling you earlier is like you start getting up early and you force yourself up, you're gonna start going to bed earlier and earlier and earlier because your body's gonna need it. And so that's how like the getting up early started, just because of the working out, and we wanted to do it before the fact that we knew if we went to work and then tried getting off work, we weren't going to work out. There was going to be a happy hour. There was going to be some friends that wanted to do something. And this is all before kids. And, you knew something was going to happen. And you could skip a workout in the afternoon way easier than you can skip a workout in the morning. Because as long as you get up, there's nobody there being like, hey, why don't you come drink with me? Why don't you come party with me?
Distractions, yeah.
Yeah, so many less distractions. And so after the boot camp, we started CrossFit. And the CrossFit, I was 2 weeks into it, and I had to run. They were like, we want to row a 5K or run a 5K? And I was like, I'll run a 5K, thinking that I could make 5K. And it probably took me 45 minutes to run this thing, and I was out there dying. And one of the girls was like, whatever you do, don't stop. It makes it harder if you stop. And I probably got maybe like 3/4 mile in and stopped and started walking. And it was so much harder to like get back going and keep running because you'd keep stopping and running, stop running. I finally made it back to the gym, and like I think it was that weekend we ended up going to Houston to go see her parents and stuff and go look at a wedding venue. And on the way back, I was like, I'm so tired of this. And people have told me all the time that you need to quit. And you're just kind of like, yeah, whatever, quit smoking. And I was like, you know what? Driving the car, riding back, it's probably like a 4-hour trip. I ended up smoking a pack of cigarettes from Houston, Texas to Lafayette, Louisiana. Like I said, it's about a 4-hour trip. I ended up smoking the whole pack. And we got home late. We went to bed, and Kelly, we wake up in the morning. Kelly's like, hey, you want to go smoke? I was like, no. She's like, why not? I go, I quit. She goes, when did you quit? I go, last night. And she goes, well, why didn't you tell me? I go, I just did. And she was like, oh, okay. And haven't touched a cigarette since.
How about her? Has she quit, your wife?
Yeah, she ended up quitting 2 weeks later.
Wow.
Yeah, which was awesome. Which was so much better than both trying to quit, because you go through some crazy withdrawals and you get irritable.
I get like that with caffeine, man. I get that.
Yeah.
Caffeine's the most widely used legal drug, man. And I can relate to that part, definitely.
Yeah. And those headaches, they're no joke. Like those headaches, like in January, like I quit caffeine a couple years ago and then started drinking it again. And I'm one of those persons that doesn't have that off switch.
Yes. Either like, on or off. You're all in. And you know what? That works out with you good with the gym, right? Because there's no half, I'll go a few times a month. They're like, either I'm going every freaking day or I'm not going at all. And I just want to say, I'm guessing that from this experience of going to these gyms and kind of regaining control of your health, did that kind of inspire you over the years to eventually open up your own facility? Am I correct in that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We were basically at the CrossFit gym for a year and a half. And then my wife was having trouble making it to the classes. So she's like, let's just buy our own gym, like our home gym in the garage. And I was like, okay, cool. And so we started doing that. And obviously, like you just said, I have the willpower to go every day. And so I'd get up there 5 a.m. I was out in the garage working out. And then, some friends would see what I was doing and then be like, hey, man, how about you come let me work out? And through college, I always had somebody that I was working out with. And it'd always be like somebody new. And so I was always trying to teach them or teaching other people in the gym. And I was like, man, it'd be so cool to be a personal trainer. And never really stuck. That never took because I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know what kind of licenses you needed or anything like that. And then CrossFit came around and I started coaching people in my garage. And so when we moved to Fairhope after about probably a year, maybe a little bit over a year, we had the gym in the garage. Then we moved to Fairhope. We lived with Kelly's parents for like a year. And I worked out in this little barn. It was probably like maybe 15 by 15 feet. So it was just like this tiny little shed looking thing that I'd work out in. And I ended up running out of there doing like measured off some running areas and things like that. And I'd go out there every day and her parents are like, man, he doesn't stop. He just goes out there every day. Like he's so dedicated. And she's like, yeah, I know. And she'd come out there every once in a while with me. And so during that time I was working at Verizon over here and she's like, what are you going to do in Pensacola? I was like, I don't know. What about opening a gym? And she's like, why don't you? Like you'd love teaching people. You liked it in the garage and it's what you love to do. And I was like, okay, cool. So we ended up going to get our CrossFit level 1 is the first step to getting the gym, to being able to open a gym. It's like a certificate that you get from CrossFit. And we ended up searching around Pensacola because it's where we were going to move to next, which is like 45 minutes away from Fairhope. And kept searching for a building. And then one just finally popped open and we ended up talking to him. And like we drove by it the day before and there was no sign. And the next day we drove by it, there was a sign and we're like, man, that's a sign.
You manifested it, man. You created.
Yeah, exactly. And so we ended up using the equipment we had and we had some sprint stock that was just, it wasn't doing anything. And it's a good thing because after 7 years, Sprint pretty much got bought out by T-Mobile like last month. And they pretty much just dissolved all the stock. So I would have just lost money anyways if I would have kept it. And it wasn't going anywhere. It wasn't going up. It was just going down. So we ended up selling that and said, we're going to put in this much money into the gym. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, that's all. We're not putting any more money into it. And so 7 years later, we're still there.
Nice. And you can tell you love it. You can tell. And the same thing for me. I see a lot of similarities. You love what you do. I don't know about you, but I don't even look at what I do as work. And it sounds like even though there's work involved, you're passionate about it. Like you had the gym in your base, in your garage, and then you started having clients, and now you open your own gym. Do you even consider it work, or do you look at it as like just an extension of your life?
A lot of times it's an extension of the life, especially when the work part is getting the clients. But when you have the clients, it's just you're having fun hanging out with some clients and getting them more fit.
You seem like that guy. It seems like you have no trouble keeping. I feel like you're that guy where you're very vulnerable and you connect fast, like I do with people. And, of course, people come and go, but I have noticed too, and I've co-hosted a show in the past with someone from a Fit Body Boot Camp, and those individuals open up their own gym. It's not even that they're opening a gym. It's like they're opening up. It's a community. It's like a family. They become so tight. They care about what's going on in your life. And I'm sure you're the same way. You want to know how your clients, and you probably look at them as friends and family in a way.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the kind of the drawback that I have that they leave every like 6 months to 3 years because of the military. But during like the ones that stay for 3 years, they become like your best friends, and you learn about their family, you hang out with their families, and you just care about them. And I still keep contact with some of them that have moved on into different parts of the United States and things like that. And it's just, and it really hurts me when they quit working out after they leave. And they're like, oh, I wish you would just put a gym here, like wherever they're at. And I'm like, go find a gym that's there. And they're just like, it's not the same.
Excuses, yes.
Yeah. And they're like, it's just not the same. And I mean, it makes me feel good, but it kind of makes me feel like I did a disservice because I thought I taught them that you need to work out. And put the discipline in them, but it was only because they were here and they were around me. But that made me feel good. But it also makes you feel bad at the same time, you know, because you want to teach them the right way, but you know.
Speaking of teaching, I want to, for the people watching this who might be intermediately or just beginning to work out or regain control of their health. I even know for myself, I'll be honest, I've been slacking in that department. And I think after having these couple of conversations with you, I'm really like considering like, you know, maybe I should start my day, even if it's not 5 or 6 a.m., even if it's 8 or 9, you know, because, you know, but we're doing it slowly, getting myself up earlier, getting that nice workout in early in the day, getting that routine. Because as you know, routines and stuff are built, but they take time to kind of ingrain them in the brain and your DNA. It takes time to, just as it takes time to take away unhealthy habits, it takes time to stamp in and to build those healthy habits. But for the people watching this, or, you know, maybe even it's similar to how you would support different clients in the early stages, what is that like staple advice or the things that you say for people who are just starting off to kind of regain control of their, you know, fitness and health?
Most of it is just start slow. Most people start in, they go all in and just get burnt out within like 3 weeks because of the fact that they're not seeing any results. They're not feeling anything. They're just sore, and they haven't broke that cycle yet of their old habits. They haven't ingrained that new habit. And so I always tell people, if they're not willing to go to a CrossFit gym or go to a gym, like just start out by get up in the morning and walk around your neighborhood. See how that feels. Go 2 blocks the next day, go 3 blocks the next day. And just kind of, once you get into that habit of just getting up and doing something, then start going into a little bit more exercise, like do some squats, push-ups, sit-ups. And if you're willing, I mean, the best thing is, if you don't know anything about working out, is to get yourself a personal trainer that knows what they're doing, that's been around. And of course, there's always some people out there that are brand new to the game. They probably know what they're doing. You can always give them a shot because everybody has to start somewhere. So I'm not always about going with the person that has the most experience or something like that. Like, give them a shot, and you never know. Like, that person could be the best personal trainer ever, but just started out because he was in fitness for a long time and never wanted to be a trainer. And some of the greatest coaches are some of the most unfit people you've ever seen. But for me, I want to look the part.
Yes.
You know, I'm a big believer in looking the part. Like, do as I say, not as I do, or do as I say and do as I do, or whatever.
I know what you mean. Yes. You want to walk the walk. You don't want to just talk the talk. You do. You see that a lot. And you're right. I'm sure they know the knowledge, but the knowledge of something, it doesn't always mean that you are taking that knowledge. Like, so for example, I might be really knowledgeable in something, but it doesn't mean that I'm taking that advice or using that knowledge in my everyday life. And you do see that a lot of fitness in different parts of life. Motivational speakers. I know for myself, I work every day to take my own advice and to work. I'm an unfinished product. I'm constantly working on myself. And I have mentors and coaches like yourself that keep me in line. But I agree. I think I saw some pictures. You're jacked. You can tell right now you're in shape, and you're playing the part. You know, you're not just out of shape telling people to get in shape. You know, you're walking the walk.
Oh yeah, big time. Like, I'm a huge believer in it. And just like you, like the personal development that I talk about on my podcast, I do everything that I do on my podcast. You know, I do the meditation, I do the journaling, I eat right, I work out, I schedule my day out, I take care of my kids, take care of my wife. And like, I prioritize where I'm at in my life. Like, every Sunday I write down the 10 things that, like, health, relationship with my wife, relationship with my friends, my family, my spiritual, my mental health, and all that stuff. Like, I write all that out, and I go over every week on the past week and I rate it like a 1 through 10. And if it drops below a 5, obviously adventure, it's going to drop below a 5 right now because we can't do anything because of the coronavirus.
You're on the podcast. You're on the people's podcast, so that definitely raises it a few points. You know what I mean?
Exactly. This is bringing it up because this is something like out of the comfort zone. You know, it's an adventure. Your adrenaline's kind of going. Yeah. I'm talking about other things where you can't go out canoeing, you can't go out to the water park,
totally,
things like that. But this week, that number is coming up to like an 8 instead of a 5. And so like I'm a huge believer in, if I'm going to tell somebody to do it, even when my clients, I go, I will never, ever have you do a workout that I won't do myself, or do something that I won't do. Like, you just won't do it. And if I won't do it, you're not going to do it. I'll be like, no need to do that. Like, you don't need to do that. And I think they respect me for that a lot more. They're like, oh, he's not lying, you know?
I respect you a lot for that. You come across in a very genuine, sincere way. And I think that's so important, because we live in a world where everyone's telling each other how to live, how society should be, how the world should be, how the government should be, how their family should be. And a lot of the self-help books and things like Jordan Peterson, and you hear Joe Rogan talk about this, and other Eckhart Tolle, they talk a lot about focus on the self. And I'm going to school, as you know, for social work. And they say, before you start pointing the finger, and there's a saying in the Bible, why do you point out the boulder in your neighbor's eye? Why do you point out the speck in your neighbor's eye when you have a boulder in your own eye? And the idea is, we're so quick to point out other people's areas that they need to improve, but then there's a million things that we can improve in our own lives, our own relationships with our family or friends. So I always try to remember that before if I'm getting a little judgy, or I'm like, you know what, where can I be the best version of myself? Where can I work on my relationships instead of pointing the finger at other people?
Yeah. And a lot of times when you're pointing that judgment out on the other person, it's actually what you have inside of you that you need to fix.
Projecting, yes, absolutely.
Which is crazy, and it works too. And I go through, like, usually like going through Walmart or driving down the road, or and one of those negative comments comes out. Like I'm like, because you have negative comments all the time. Like, you're always going to judge somebody. Yeah. And so what I try to do is, as soon as that negative comment comes out in my head, I try and think about 3 positive things about that person. So I'm like, man, why is that person wearing that? Who am I to judge? I don't care what they wear. If I want to come in my PJs, I'm going to come in my PJs. But look, that person's actually up doing grocery shopping. Look, that person got some good stuff in their cart. Or look, that person's actually taking care of their family.
They're starting their day. They're being productive. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's always a positive way.
Yeah. So I always try and spin it, and then it makes me feel better, and just it kind of controls that negative judgment aspect of your brain that just loves to run rampant.
Absolutely. You know, as we wrap by, I love how you always offer value, whether when I was on your podcast or watching some of your other podcasts, whoever you're talking to, you're always offering like tips and advice. And what I really like too is you're big into routines. And I think that you've really motivated me about routines, because a lot of people don't talk about that. A lot of people don't have their set healthy routines, but you can tell in your life the success and things that you've been able to accomplish. And I would like to think that your routines have helped you get to where, waking up early, scheduling, being on time, really believing in what you're talking about, not just telling people to do things that you wouldn't do. But I want to hear, for the people watching this, I want people to check out your podcast, follow you on social media. What are like the different things that people can find by following you? What is the different value and things that you post about that they might be interested in?
A lot of stuff I post, of course, is motivational tips. And on my podcast, I talk about journaling. I'm going to probably put up one about eating healthy, but it's also about just setting your attention for the day, obviously routines, and just talk about some different books, and just living my life, and just live like pretty much what I talk about is the way I live my life. And I try and write it out and talk about it. And like you said, the routine, a lot of people say routine's the enemy, but it's not. Like, routine and structure get you places and get you the success you're looking for.
Yes, gets results.
Yeah. And when I'm not in my routine, I'm a huge mess. And I talk about that in the podcast too, that you have to keep the routine to keep the motivation going. Mm-hmm. And the big thing, another big one I talk about is your why, on why you're doing things. And I think I've done 2 podcasts on it, just because it's so important
100%
to understand it. And if you don't have the why and you can't put that structure to your why, then you're just going day to day, and you're not going anywhere. You're probably going backwards. You're not going forward.
And I'll be honest. I've had moments in this quarantine where I had that, and I needed that kind of wake up call where I was like, wow, I'm getting things done, but it's not the pace that I want it to be, right? I'm not making as much progress with my podcast, or I'm having some progress in some areas, but I'm being lazy in other areas. And I've even seen that a lot of people, friends of mine, they kind of retreat. They use this as an excuse to be lazy and stuff. And my realization was I have a choice to either use this time for good or to just slack off. And I chose to do more podcasts. I chose to connect with like-minded people like yourself. And I'm so glad I did, because I could look back and be like, what the heck did I do these past few months during this quarantine? Was I really pushing myself as much as I could be?
Oh, yeah. I ended up, excuse me, sorry about that.
No problem.
I think last time you were on my podcast, I was still studying for my real estate license.
Yes. How did that go?
I took it June 11th and ended up passing it. So I was pumped. And I found out that most people, I mean, the pass rate's like 40 or 50%. I was like, holy cow, glad I didn't know that before.
40% passes, 50% fail? Or no, 60%?
No, like 40 or 50% people fail the first time.
Fail the first time. Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah. Thank you. So I'm pumped. And that's what I did during my quarantine. So
hell yeah. And you've been doing the podcast. You've been doing a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A lot.
And one thing that's kind of like you said, some of your friends kind of use that as an excuse. And you got, like, next time you see them, like, hey, man, you're going backwards in life. You're not going forward. Like, we're trying to go forward in life. Like, you got to keep going, keep going. And
100%.
Talk to them about trying to find their why. And also, like, one thing you should do is just write down your why. Like, write it out, like, yeah.
That's something I struggle with. Journaling is something I want to incorporate. And maybe the next time we do a podcast is I would like to have you on in a couple months, or even sooner, just to check up. And, we could do a whole fitness, mental health kind of podcast continuously. Cool. I would love that, because I feel like you and I have a great dynamic. And I just want to mention to the viewers watching this, whether they're fans of mine or yours, definitely check out Marcus. And I also, if there's topics that they want us to go over, to let us know if it's something that they want us to discuss and have a dialogue on. But I hope that you come on again soon. I want to give you an opportunity just to share anything that you weren't able to share, or maybe to leave the viewers. You left us with a lot of really, really good stuff that people can reflect on. But is there anything that you want people to leave with, any message that you want to get across to the people watching this?
I think my main message is discover what your why is and just go after what your dream is. Like, don't sit on, if you're at a job that you just hate, but you know that making necklaces makes you happy, go start making necklaces somehow.
Heck yeah.
Stay up a little later, get up a little earlier, start making them, and look at that. Start doing something that makes you happy. Like, don't sit there in the dead end job because it's a paycheck. Just discover your why and just go after it. Like, that's what I believe in, and that's what I'm doing. I'm going to go after real estate along with the gym. And, like, I love people, and I love helping people and just getting their dream across from them. And I think real estate's the next big thing for me.
Next chapter.
Yeah, the next chapter. And I'm excited.
You got the vibe for it. You got that exciting and people magnetic. You got that vibe where people want to be around you. And I just want to say thank you for supporting me in my why, because my why is for connection, for community, to wellness, just to learn from people from different walks of life. And that's my why. And just having this podcast with you, I feel like in a way you've helped me in a short period of time really solidify and reflect more on my why. And I'm hoping that will be enough for me to get my butt up early in the morning. I might need an accountability coach. But I really appreciate you coming on, Marcus, and I hope that you come back on again soon.
Yes, I will, definitely. Man, I appreciate you having me. And like I said, I really like being on your show. I like having you on my show, and I really think we should definitely keep it going, like maybe once a month or something like that. Like, definitely.
Yeah, just doing little segments where we team up on each other's podcast. We do a combination where it's both of our podcasts. It doesn't even need to be either one. It could be a little collaboration. It's not about that to me, and I know you're good like that. And I'm going to include links to all of your platforms so people who are watching this that are fans of mine can go give you some love. And I can't wait for you, man. That's exciting news. The real estate business, I feel like you would dominate. You got that magnetic energy, that intense, that good vibes. And Too many real estate agents are boring and they're old and they're like run down and they're all, man, you're going to bring like a cool vibe to it,
That's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm going to do.
It's a cool vibe. So let's send some good energy to the viewers. Let's send them good vibes and love. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And I'm excited to get you back on soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it so much.
When expanding your mind, give it all you can give. If you're looking for some credible solutions for peace, the People's Podcast is live. Come and get you a piece. Peace. Good to be alive. Good to be alive.